the week's been a lot like it was the previous week. So we had a couple days off to rest and get healthy. Coaches game plan during that time. So when we went back to work Friday and Saturday, we had 2 good work days. Again, some of it just basic fundamental work, and then a little bit of time spent preparing for Central Michigan each day. Then we had meetings yesterday, and today their typical day off, and we'll get into a game week starting tomorrow. So we should be fresh, should be ready to go.
It's your final 3 games. What do you want this team to try and salvage out of this year?
Well, I think number one, just that lesson of persistence, you know, and one thing they're learning here in a tough way, in a difficult situation, is that the process never changes, and it doesn't matter if you're undefeated or no wins or 500. You know, you approach every game exactly the same. You meet about the game plan, you install the game plan, you work on the fundamentals, you work on the execution, you try to go out on the field on Saturday and put it all together. So I think that's a good lesson for our guys, and I think, you know, I'm really proud of the way that they've stayed engaged, and they do come out and work hard every day, and we're beat up, and there's a lot of guys out, and we're playing a lot of young guys, and but still, the seniors have been great leaders. I'm indebted to them completely. You heard from Tori, and Marcus Milton's been another guy, and Brandon Harris and Clint Stevens. These guys are all in, and they're engaged, and they're working with the younger guys, and it's just been great to see. That chemistry will carry us a long way in laying a foundation for what the culture of this program should be.
You know, kind of on that same subject, how important is that, you know, for those senior guys to be as engaged as they are, especially just the impact on the younger players?
Oh, it's huge because, you know, A, they're the guys that our young guys look to in the locker room, you know, and to see them, you know, knowing the season's been a disappointment and we've only got a few games left, but they have not one of them is checked out. And I think that's a great learning lesson for these younger guys. And I told our seniors, you know, you can be really proud of that. And most importantly, as the future of this program changes and this program gets to competing for championships again, you can feel good about that, you know, that you were part of that change and part of the different culture that resulted in victory. And when you come back, you know, you stay engaged and you keep working the way you've worked. You can come back and enjoy a ball game on Saturday and know that you were part of laying the foundation for future success for this program. And I think they've responded to that message very well.
Offensively, you guys scored 28 plus 3 out of past 4 games. Are you starting to figure out, or is it starting to get their bearings and what's working and what isn't?
Yes, and I think, you know, I've spent a lot of time with the offensive staff in the last week, you know, during this down week, and to really start to talk about, you know, our ups and our downs. And we're scoring 28 points, and yet we're leaving points out there. And I think too often we're putting ourselves into unmanageable third downs, where we're 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 12 again and again, and those 3 and outs are hurting us, especially with our lack of depth defensively. So, you know, one thing that we've really taken a look at is that situation. How can we be better on 1st and 2nd down, and put our offense, period, into more manageable 3rd downs that we can keep the change rolling and keep the defense off the field. So hopefully we came out of those meetings with a decent plan here for Central Michigan, and we'll see how it goes.
You're able to spell Grant in there against Kent State. Did you like what you saw out of that look?
I do. I like Grant. I think he brings a lot to the table. He's a good athlete. You know, the difficult thing for us right now is you just can't overhaul an offense in a few weeks. So, you know, try to find a role for him in whatever capacity that might be. But I think, you know, Grant's a tremendous athlete, and he can run, he's physical, he's got an exuberance about him, and, you know, trying to keep him engaged. But, you know, bottom line is our offense, and we're going to try to fix it within the scheme.
When you talk with the offensive guys, do you try to look at it from a defensive perspective with them, or I guess how does that?
Exactly right. You know, I'm not an offensive coach, and yet I do believe I have a lot to contribute in that room. I do understand defense, and I can look at the defense and kind of see where I think, we have an opportunity formation-wise or play-wise to take advantage of some things that they do. And so it's been interesting for them to hear my perspective. And more or less, I go back to my first coaching experience at Kansas State with Bill Snyder, who was I called him an offensive genius. He was a really smart offensive coach, and he spent a lot of time with our defensive coaches just playing devil's advocate, and I try to emulate what he did there on the opposite side of football. And our guys have reacted well. They listen, they ask questions, and hopefully, it'll help us going down the road.
Did you get word on Roland?
Yes, Roland will be out for the rest of the year. He broke his ankle. Unfortunate. He was having really, I challenged Roland for 2 weeks, and it's time for you to step up. And man, he was having a great game, and it changed the whole course of the football game, I think, because they really were having a difficult time dealing with him on third down, and when Roland got hurt, our pass rush just wasn't what it was early in the game, and I think, who knows, how that game would have turned out had Roland, and that's just a freak accident, and unfortunately those things happen. But I did love what I saw from Roland, and I told him after the game, I know you got hurt, and I know you're hurting, and yet I think what you just saw is what you're capable of, doing it week in and week out. And I think you can use that coming into the off season and really have a renewed sense of confidence. Roland was a linebacker. We moved the DN, and it just took him a while to figure out how to use his speed and athleticism, but stay within the D-line play and not get out of his gap or do those things. And I think he started finally the last 2 weeks putting that together, and I think he's going to be a heck of a football player here in the next couple of years.
He's had some tough breaks, injury-wise, from the front six, I guess, in your case. How much of a rotation are you legitimately able to have?
Well, as much as we can. I mean, you really look at our productivity. Once we start getting over about 70 snaps, we've been playing poorly, because we're not very deep. And yet, so you try to have some rotation to keep those guys fresh, although some guys are ready and some guys aren't, and with the new rule of not losing, eligibility on a kid, playing them 4 games, you might see a Javon Henderson in there or someone you haven't been seeing as much of. So, try to just keep working with those younger guys and get in a position where even if they could go in and take 2 or 3 snaps away, and it just makes a big difference for us. And we have been decimated up front, and but that happens at this level sometimes, and you got to just deal with it and move on. And you can't sing the blues. You just got to get the guys ready who are healthy enough to play.